Hi there! Today I'm here to talk about a topic that I spoke with my students this week, and I think this topic is extremely relevant to anyone that studies English, but also to anyone that studies any language as a second language. Sometimes we focus too much on translating, so we want to translate everything, and we forget that communication is not about translating everything. I'm guilty too, because years ago, when I studied English as a second language, I used to translate everything. I wanted to translate everything. My classmates got so annoyed at me because I always wanted to translate everything. So if we were doing an exercise, we were reading an article, and we had to do something after it, answer questions or do something else, I always wanted to read the article and translate everything out loud. And of course they got annoyed at me, because this habit really slows you down, because you are only paying attention to the words. You're just translating. You're not looking at the overall meaning of the article, or if we're talking about a conversation, if you just focus on translating the words, you forget to pay attention to the other things that are involved in a conversation. So when I'm talking to you, there are lots of things here that you can pay attention to, not just the words I'm using, because I use my hands, right, to say something, to express something, and expressions. Once in a while, you can notice if the person is happier or if the person is upset or angry, surprised, because we use our facial expressions, right? And of course, our intonation, because sometimes we will use a more neutral intonation, right? So we're not expressing too much. But when we get excited, we tend to change the way that we speak. So all those things should be looked into when we're talking about communication. And this is something very interesting that happens during classes that use the natural approach method, because we practice all of this a lot. So you use your listening skills all the time, because to be a good speaker, you have to learn to listen. So you have to pay attention to the words, of course, but you have to pay attention to everything. So for me, it actually is quite interesting to notice the progress of my students, because during the first week, most of them feel concerned and maybe a little bit worried about not being able to follow the classes, to understand everything. Because the classes, when I'm using the natural approach, classes are 95% in English. Once in a while we use Portuguese to say something, but we try to stick to English as much as possible. So of course during the first week people feel concerned, right? Oh, I'm not going to be able to understand, so what am I going to do? But after the second week, because you start to feel used to it, because you are practicing so much, it's not just one practice week, you're practicing every day. And it's quite amazing to notice how during the third week, fourth week, the students, they look much more relaxed, because they're not watching the class like this, worried. I can see that they are interested, but not worried, not stressed. When your palms are sweating and you feel nervous, and you are not just paying attention, you are actually stressed. So it's proof, it's actual proof that the more you practice, the easier things will become. There's no secret to it. It's not like it's some kind of famous secret. It's not that. It's practice, actual practice. So it's really, really important to try to stop translating everything. especially everything. I know that in the beginning we want and we need to translate things because, well, it's a new language. But if you've been studying English for a while, stop translating. Focus on understanding the meaning of the conversation, the meaning of the words, the meaning of the expressions. Because if you only translate, I'm not saying it's forbidden. You should never translate anything. That's not what I'm saying. But if you only translate, you are really slowing yourself down because you're not paying attention to the other things that come with communication. Eu nunca falo português aqui, né? Mas eu acho que hoje é importante, depois de falar justamente sobre tradução e comunicação, eu acho que esse é um tópico muito importante para quem se sente, principalmente para quem se sente stuck, que é o que eu ouço muito dos alunos novos que chegam até mim. Eles reclamam que se sentem stuck, se sentem presos. Eu até entendo, eu já estudei por um tempo, mas eu não me sinto confiante na hora de falar, na hora de ter uma conversa. Eu sinto que talvez falta vocabulário, ou até falta prática, né, gente? Porque se você não pratica, não só inglês, mas qualquer coisa que você não pratique, a gente não se sente confiante na hora que a gente vai utilizar essas habilidades. Então, essa é uma coisa muito importante, que eu considero muito importante. Você parar de traduzir tudo. É normal, como eu falei, né? É normal no início, principalmente, a gente quer traduzir as coisas. Só que se você só traduzir, vai demorar muito tempo para você se tornar fluente, tá? Então, é uma coisa muito importante se você deseja, talvez nem ser fluente, mas você tá pensando assim, eu quero muito não me sentir mais preso, sabe? Se sentir estagnado, preso naquele mesmo nível de inglês. Então, tá na hora de experimentar um método diferente, um método novo. Inclusive, se você estiver interessado, dia 14, na semana que vem, quarta-feira da semana que vem, eu vou oferecer uma aula gratuita que utiliza justamente esse método, o Natural Approach, abordagem natural, que é um método específico, a forma com que eu entrego as minhas aulas é específico para quem está se sentindo assim. Eu me sinto stuck. Então, se você tem curiosidade de conhecer, tem vontade de entender como seria uma aula usando o Natural Approach, e, claro, receber mais umas dicas sobre como dizer adeus à estagnação, que é muito importante também, fica à vontade para participar. O link tá no meu site para você se inscrever e receber o link para a aula. And if you're interested, I always do this during my classes. I call it the language switch because we use just a little bit of Portuguese once in a while. So if you are interested, go to my website, sign up for the class, and maybe I'll see you next week.